The world is full of peculiarities, and science has really had its work cut out to explain them. In most cases, the wonder of such phenomenal ancient artifacts can be attributed to the human race's brilliance and innovation throughout our 150,000-year existence. But in some cases, the origins and purpose of artifacts are still disputed. Amazing! Number 10. Weird antenna on the seafloor. In the height of Cold War paranoia, an oceanographic research ship named USNS Eltanin made a rather peculiar discovery while scanning the Antarctic seafloor. The strange sighting resembled an antenna. It was tall, straight, and had arms evenly spaced at 90-degree angles protruding from its shaft. Many theories developed quickly in response to the image. Some pertain to man-made origins, perhaps Soviet, and others pertain to the unexplainable. Could it be an alien relic? 13,500 feet beneath the waves in Antarctica is a pretty inhospitable location for any construction, and the likelihood that this antenna was of human origin seemed minuscule. This extraterrestrial form was scrutinized until it was eventually identified as Cludoriza concrescens, which is a type of sea sponge which resides in deep waters. Modern-day images of this sponge really do look like the Eltanin antenna, but they are few and far between, and many people have called for a revisit to this peculiar deep-sea object to determine how it's changed since its discovery. Number 9. Wolf's Egg Iron. The first impression you may have of this cube is that it looks unimpressive and is hardly a cube at all. It's loosely cuboid, and given its metallic composition and theorized age of 20 million years or more, it suddenly becomes a very strange artifact worthy of serious respect. It was discovered after a miner broke open a piece of coal at an iron foundry, and at first, scientists believed the chunk of metal to be a meteoric origin. But that was ruled out through analysis. It was more likely a chunk of cast iron. That then begged the question, how has cast iron found itself encased in 20-million-year-old coal when humans have only existed for roughly 200,000 years? This was puzzling for a time before researchers generally began to accept that the miner could not have liberated this from very old untouched coal after all, and that it was probably a piece of machinery that had fallen into the coal pit more recently. Still, many remain skeptical as this piece of iron has not been subjected to modern research techniques. Number 8. The Nazca Lines and Atacama Skeleton. The Nazca Lines, found in the Nazca Desert in southern Peru, really are some of the most stunning geoglyphs on Earth. Geoglyphs are icons carved into the face of the Earth. The Nazca Lines are an amazing marker of ancient civilization and date back around 2,000 years. They're tremendously complex, and there are over 30 of them dispersed through the desert environment, making them the most interesting collection of ancient geoglyphs on Earth. It is thought that these geoglyphs were created as a means of communicating with the gods above Earth to pray for rain, and that has naturally inspired all manner of theories revolving around alien contact. Although it's plausible they were created with simple tools by the Nazca culture, what's raised the most eyebrows are the array of strange figures that were created, from orcas to astronauts. Adding to this mystery is the Atacama skeleton, another South American oddity which was also found in southern Peru. It's a humanoid skeleton that really is minuscule at no longer than 15 centimeters in length, which is the size of a pen. Despite its size, it clearly is not a fetus, as it has developed anatomy, including developed hands and hard teeth. The most striking thing is its oddly shaped head, which is perfectly fitting to traditional visions of aliens. This peculiar skeleton was tested using modern DNA methodologies by professors at Stanford University and was indeed found to be human and of local descent. It was also aged between 6 to 8 years old upon death, which is remarkable for a human of that tiny size. The genetic mutations which lead to its strange forms are not clear, and so far, nobody has been able to explain exactly what it is. Number 7. The London Hammer. This hammer was a chance find in London, Texas in 1936. A family stumbled upon a rock with a peculiar wooden protrusion embedded in it, and their son broke it open to reveal a hammer clearly molded into the rock. The interesting point for archaeologists in the 30s here was how the hammer found itself encased in rock, which was itself thought to be over 30 million years old. For many, this indicated that the so-called London Hammer was some remarkable pre-human artifact that was still built with modern techniques. Stylistically though, the hammer bared many resemblances to old American tools, and then geologists began to explain how the stone encasing, despite its age, could have molded its way around the tool relatively recently. Limestone and other types of rocks can be easily decomposed, and during heavy rain or other adverse weather events, the hammer could have become encased in a muddy solution before that mud eventually hardened and turned to rock. Number 6. The Maine Penny. Some of us may be familiar with that rhyme, "In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue." And for many years, this was the accepted historical view on cross-Atlantic travel. Traveling from Europe to the Americas was a mean feat in 1492, but evidence has now amassed to suggest that the Vikings achieved this grand milestone first, and potentially as many as 500 years before Columbus. One piece of evidence to back this up is the Maine penny, which was discovered in 1957 in Maine. The coin was first mistaken for an English penny, but was then confirmed to be a Norse coin originated from the reign of Olav Kyrre, who was king of Norway between 1067 and 1093 AD. How it got to Maine is still a contested issue. Some claim it was just planted there, while others believe locals obtained it somewhere else. Either way, it poses more questions than answers. Number 5. The Baghdad Battery. This artifact is made of 3 components and was discovered in Iraq. It's composed of a ceramic pot with a rolled copper tube and an iron rod which were once placed inside the pot. Its origins have been dated back to 150 BC and 650 AD, and though its purpose is not understood, many theories surround its use as an archaic battery. The battery would function in an acidic solution, most likely lemon or grape juice, and was poured inside to generate a current between the differing copper and iron electrodes. It's thought-provoking for a few reasons. Firstly, electricity was not understood until the late 1700s, after Benjamin Franklin famously flew his kite in a thunderstorm. Furthermore, even if this was an ancient battery, what uses could people possibly find for such a contraption back then? Ideas have surrounded its potential use in electrotherapy or electroplating statues. Alternative theories suggest that the Baghdad battery was more likely a special storage container. Still, many scientists do indeed support the battery theory. The use of this battery, though, no one knows for sure. Number 4. The Lycurgus Cup. This cup, named the Lycurgus Cup, has been named as the most spectacular piece of glassware ever found from the late Roman era of 400 AD. Even by today's standards, it's a beautifully complex piece and most impressively features a dichroic effect, where the glass is colored red when lit from the back and green when lit from the front. This wonderful effect is not easy to create, and researchers discovered that the cup used gold and silver nanoparticles dispersed throughout the glass to achieve it. These particles are 70 nanometers across, which makes them hard to view even with powerful microscope optics. They can only be viewed officially with a transmission electron microscope. The particles reflect different wavelengths of light, red or blue, depending on how light is shown through the cup. How this effect would have been achieved deliberately is quite bewildering, and instead, researchers have indicated that it's more likely this effect was achieved accidentally from contamination of the glass from the workshop in which it was crafted. Number 3. The Voynich Manuscript. Here, we have a genuine mystery which has racked the brains of countless academics and researchers throughout several decades, and still, there is no singular explanation for it which seems likely. The Voynich manuscript is named after the Polish book dealer who purchased it from a bookstore in 1912, but it's been carbon dated to the 14th century, possibly originated from Renaissance Italy. It's a fairly long book at 240 pages, and many are packed with densely written paragraphs, strange diagrams, pictographs, artwork, and symbols. The baffling thing is no one has yet been able to decode the writing system, despite the best efforts of many prolific scientists, codebreakers, cryptologists from all over the world. They have all lined up to have a go and have all failed. Many have assumed it to be a hoax, but the evidence strongly suggests its historical authenticity, and while some progress has been made to understand its meaning, it's still very much an unknown. Number 2. Piri-Reis Map. This map has been theorized to contain information on the discovery of the Antarctic coast, some 200 years before previously thought. This map is composed with stunning detail and was compiled by Piri-Reis, a Turkish admiral and cartographer, who made this compilation from many maps created by the Egyptians, the Portuguese, and Arabs amongst others. Though many discrepancies have been brought about as to whether the Antarctic coast is really depicted on the map, the landmass has yet to be effectively labeled, leading some scholars to conclude that the map has been based on other lost maps that originated from unknown travelers of the oceans. Some claims suggest that unknown high-tech ancient civilizations are responsible, but none of these claims have been verified, and it's likelier that the landmass thought to be the Antarctic is simply in error. Number 1. The Antikythera Mechanism. The tremendous intelligence of the ancient Greeks has continued to wow science, and there's perhaps no less famous of an artifact to prove this than the Antikythera Mechanism. This artifact really is a phenomenon, as its mechanical complexity approaches that of European clocks produced in the 14th century. This artifact has a confirmed origin of circa 100 BC though, making it the oldest analog computer ever found on Earth. Imaging studies of the device have shown it to have 37 gears, which enable it to follow the movements of our solar system via 3 separate dials, each with their own sets of hands. The main dial showed the movements of the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, which were the 5 planets known to the Greeks. It could have followed the moon through the zodiac, shown when eclipses were likely to occur, and was even designed to show the irregularities in the moon's orbit. Another dial showed the date through its 19-year Greek Metonic cycle and 76-year Calippic cycle, and the third dial showed the cycle of eclipses. The tremendous complexity of this device speaks for itself, yet its maker remains unknown. Though the complex function of the device once seemed far-fetched given its awesome age, the design and iconography is still plausible given Greek workmanship, and the information it contains was well documented by many astronomers and other academics.